Hello and welcome to another episode of the Electric Norwegian. I'm Mats. Now, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I was wrong. In the last year or so, I've been mostly saying this car isn't as good as everybody said it was, and it's inefficient. That said, previous to this car, I owned a Hyundai Ioniq, which is probably one of the most energy efficient cars ever made by man. At least if you keep the VW XL1 and all that, those kind of things out of the picture. I don't know if the car's changed or I've changed. Now, most probably my driving style has changed a little bit. I still love driving and I still love pushing the car around on the twisty bits. I mean, who doesn't? But now I've got the 19-inch summer tires back on, the Hankook Evo S2s, 245. I don't remember if it's 40 or 45/19. They're not massive or anything, but they are, after all, bigger than the 18s in the winter, and they're definitely bigger than the 16s on the Ioniq. And I noticed that on the winter tires, on the 18s, you could get really impressive consumption relatively easy without really working very hard for it. It started off high, it always does, and then it gradually falls as you even out your speed and your consumption over time. And it was very simple indeed with the winter tires. It just happened. With these, I don't know if the tires have run in a little bit or something, but it really is. I'm just driving around now and we're doing 135 watt-hours per kilometer, but I haven't really done anything other than driving very carefully, because it's a 40 zone, so you can't really drive very hard. Of course, if you floor it, the consumption will fly straight up again. Thinking, what is he on about? Why is this a big thing? Well, partly I think on 18-inch tires particularly, and with Norwegian speed limits, because you see, Norwegian speed limits are, apart from the high-speed highway network, which is mostly the southeastern part of the country, the rest of the roads are dual carriage, well, single lane, and your average speed is somewhere between 70 and 90 kilometers an hour. And that means that even this long range, or even a performance, can do really, I would imagine you could easily get, we know we get 300 to 350 kilometers out of this car on the European motorways, because we tried it last summer, so we know that. This year, however, and this was decided before the corona, we will do vacations in Norway. We'll go to the western parts of Norway. It will all will be filmed, and it will be a travel blog kind of thing like last year. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be up and down mountains and truly amazing places. And I'm thinking that this car, I mean, we're getting Ioniq levels of efficiency out of this, almost. The Ioniq is even better. But of course, then again, the Ioniq is a different car. I stand by that it is one of the best used car buys out there, is the Ioniq. It charges faster than anything else in this class. And it has a all-right range, I would say. Of course, combined with the decent charge times, quick charge times, it doesn't necessarily matter that much slightly limited range, I must say. This is a power saloon. This is a sports saloon, everybody. It is 450 horses. That's the same as a 996 Porsche 911 Turbo, which, when it came 20 years ago, was an absolute monster. And I can tell you, that does not do 120 watt-hours per kilometer. I mean, it's just not possible. This does. And I'm just really shocked. Yes, the road noise has gone up slightly, but it's tolerable. Another thing I noticed, since I've got this, when I got this car last year, it was delivered on the 19-inch summer tires. So I never had experienced it on winter tires until this winter, logically. And now I'm back on the 19s again. Several things have come to the forefront. It feels slightly different, a bit more, a bit stiffer, because there's less tires, less tire wall, and the summer tires are not as soft in the compound as the winter tires are. That's just how it is. And just the steering feels different as well. It's heavier and a little bit tighter, and it feels even more sporty than it did before. And it's just, I almost want to say this car is even better now than I got it. And I was driving the other day, not fast, but active on a pretty curvy road, and I was thinking, okay, now my rather good average is gonna go to pieces. It didn't, because I kept constantly 80-90 kilometers, because you can do that in this car, and it just fell and fell and fell. And now when I was done driving through that, like, how in the name of all that's holy can this car do that? So this is really, because I've always been saying that an electric car is a bit like having a cake and eating it, and this really is. This is a sports saloon that basically doesn't use very much energy, and you can have fun and still be economical. I can also say that I still love the autopilot, and I use it for 80% of driving. If you want the most efficiency out of your car and the lowest consumption, autopilot is not necessarily the best way of doing that, depending on where you drive, of course. On this kind of give and take roads like this, it isn't, because it will brake too much before the corner, and it will be, it will keep you in the lane and do its stuff, but it won't necessarily be the most energy efficient way of getting around. On the highway or motorway, where you just have a constant speed, that's of course always a big plus. But the autopilot is primarily, it's a safety function, it's a great safety function. It is also convenience. So that is two things it does amazingly well. But if you want the most energy efficient ride ever, then you have to do it yourself, basically. So all my bad press about the car is now duly taken back, and I'm sorry, and I was clearly wrong. This is a brilliant car. It's very efficient. It's nearly, not quite, as efficient as the Ioniq. That's probably due to a few things. The Ioniq runs a heat pump, so in the winter particularly it will be better. And also at high speeds it's still more economical. This handles high speeds rather well, but it isn't the most economical car in the entire world. You have to struggle a little bit more now to get over 100% efficiency with the car. And then I use the Tesla app, and then it measures your accumulated range against the distance you've driven. So if you've driven, say you've driven 4 kilometers and you used 3.8%, then you're above 100% efficiency because you used less range than you actually driven. And with the 18s, I noticed you could really do above 100 very, very easily. With these, there's a little bit more work involved, but it's still is, you know, it still is possible. It still is possible. And yes, there's a little bit more road noise, particularly on these crappy roads we're on now. But this thing is fun to drive. I noticed from the statistics that a lot of you watching don't push that dial, you know, and subscribe. And it really would help if you did, if you want to, of course. And like, and maybe leave a comment if you think this is interesting or not. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Keep safe, wash your hands, and all that jazz. And I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.